Hello guys, and welcome to this EC Aquatics video. In this video, I'm going to be setting up this 15-gallon dual island aquarium. So a dual island aquarium has two sort of islands of wood and rocks, one on either side of the aquarium. And each island will be full of epiphyte plants like Java ferns and surrounded by dwarf sag and different stem plants, and then in the back some swords. For our nutrient layer, I'm reusing the bags that I had in the previous iteration of this tank, and they're full of aqua soil, and this keeps the nutrient layer separate from the sand and prevents mixing and your aqua soil popping up in your sand and looking all ugly and stuff like that, especially if you have fish that dig through the sand like cory catfish or snails. So the sand that we're going to be using in this is the sand from the previous iteration of the scape. I don't remember exactly what it is. It could be like Monterey Beach sand or some specialized aquarium sand. It might also just be play sand that I bought at Home Depot at some point. I'm just going to add this right back in on top of our nutrient layer, and I'm going to shape it so that the areas where our islands are going to have just a little bit more sand to get a little bit more height there. So next we're going to add our woodscape, and this is just some spiderwood that I've had. It's been in tanks before, so it's nice and saturated with water, and cross my fingers that it doesn't float when I add it in. So I'm going to play around with the dual island. And I'm also going to add some rocks as well. They look sort of like lava rock. I collected them at some point, and I'm going to use them in this tank. There we go, our hardscape is now complete. You can see our two islands. One is slightly bigger than the other. Now we can start planting. I've also added a pathway of smaller pebbles around the big islands. And I've locked down all of the wood onto rocks and other wood using super glue. And then I covered all that with sand to try and hide the ugly white gel type super glue. Now that all our hardscape's been secured, it's time to plant. So the first plant that we're going to be using is Java Fern, and that we're going to attach to rocks and wedge into crevices on that big island using So the next plant that we're going to be using is Amazon Sword, and this plant has, as you can see, really long roots, and it needs to be planted into the substrate and back in the aquarium as it'll grow nice and tall. And it requires a very nutrient-rich substrate in order to thrive. And that can be achieved by either using root tabs or doing what I'm doing and using those little bags with aqua soil in them in order to give it nutrients to grow. Our next plant is Anubias Petite, which is another epiphyte plant that we're going to attach to our smaller little island. This plant also needs to be glued down onto stuff or wedged into little crevices, and like the Java fern, its rhizome also needs to be exposed. Our next plant is Dwarf Sag, and we're going to plant this across the bottom of the aquarium, and it's going to carpet and look very nice. Our next plant that we're going to be using is Anubias Congensis, which is another epiphyte plant, and you see like this one has been glued down on a rock, and we're going to place these in different locations in the tank, or we're going to glue them down. This next plant that we're going to be using is Lilaeopsis Braziliensis, or microsword, and it is another really good carpeting plant that we are going to put right in the front of the tank with the Dwarf Sag. The next plant that we're going to be using is Rotala Indica, which is a very easy stem plant to grow, and we're just going to add it into the sections around the two islands. Alrighty, so we're now fully planted, and it's time to fill up the tank. So the tank is all filled up, and I'm not going to be adding any fish into here right now. That'll be at some point in the future, so stay tuned for that. That might be a long form video that drops at some point in the future, or it might be a short. It's more likely going to be a short video that I put out adding fish into this tank, but it'll probably be about a month or so after you guys see this. I really want to give this tank time to grow in, get the plants settled in, and make sure that I don't have any algae problems that spring up in this tank. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons and turn on post notifications so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And I will see you all in the next one.